A CFO comes in and he basically says, hey guys, love y'all, but I'm leaving and I highly recommend that you file bankruptcy. We were looking at going from 7 million to 15 million, which is what we did last year. We're trying to do 2,000 homes in new construction this year. I will be direct. I will tell you what you're doing wrong, and I will say it to you enough times until you hear me and me correct it.
Recently, we've been experimenting with lead aggregators, and one of the ones I'm most excited about is a company called Modernize. So what Modernize does is they do direct inbound calls for home improvement. So it's a direct phone call booking, which is way easier to book and has a much higher book rate than an Angie's List or something like that, where you have to sort of recontact them and try to find that customer. Modernize has a direct connection to our call center, so that's been a huge win. It also has some of the services that we've really struggled to get good leads for: water heater replacements, HVAC units, and water damage restoration and water quality. Those ones have been challenging for us to get leads, and Modernize has been a really great partner for us. So make sure you check out modernize.com.
Welcome back to Owned and Operated. We have our co-host here, John Wilson.
Yeah.
Held it a little too long there.
Yeah, I think you did. I think easily a second too long. And we're blessed to have Kelly Roberts here with us today too. Kelly, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks so much for inviting me on. I'm a big fan of the show, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this will be great. Well, I'm glad you've been able to learn from it, hopefully in the past, from the smart people we've had on. And I know you're going to share a ton of awesome stuff too, so this is going to be fun. Kelly is the CEO of Moss Heating and Cooling and the CFO of Moss Utilities, and you did in fact hear that correctly. I continue to recheck my notes. She got a lot going on. So Kelly, I would love it if you just give us a little bit, like, what does a day-to-day even look like? And we're going to break this down because I'm fascinated, but like, how do you do it?
That's a great question. I think I take it day by day. When we originally started, a lot of deep breathing. When we first started Moss Heating and Cooling, the idea was that I was always going to serve as CEO or general manager, be in some capacity. I was already the CFO of Moss Utilities at that time when we decided to partner with the owner of Moss Utilities to start Moss Heating and Cooling. But it took a while for the company to get just quite honestly large enough for it to take up my entire attention. And so that happened last year. We were looking at the year and we were thinking that we were about to double in size. So we were looking at going from 7 million to 15 million, which is what we did last year. And about April of that year, well, really, we've been planning since about January, we decided to finally make the move for me to just move over to Moss Heating and Cooling full-time CEO. And so in doing that, we hired a CFO for utilities, and unfortunately, it just did not work out. A couple of months after we hired him, we were good friends with him, and we just decided that we would part ways because it wasn't a good fit, and we wanted to do it sooner rather than later. Yeah. Utilities at that time was considering just a very important transaction, employee ownership, and it was going to take somebody that really knew the business to be able to help orchestrate that deal. And so I came back, and we've just kind of taken it day by day since. The idea is that, eventually one day I'm going to have to choose because Utilities is a massive company. They do about $180 million of revenue a year. Wow. And so that is really a full-time job. And then we have Moss Heating and Cooling, and it's really interesting the differences between the two companies. But from a transaction standpoint, Moss Heating and Cooling has just as many transactions as Moss Utilities. It's just, Moss Utilities transactions are so much larger. So one day I will have to, right? I'll have to pick a side one day. I just don't want to do it quite yet.
Can you explain, just walk me through, I don't understand $180 million in Moss Utilities. I just don't get it. So walk me through this.
So Moss Utilities started in 2016. We are a civil contractor. So that's just a really nice way of saying that we put pipe in the ground. We put water, sewer, and storm pipe in the ground. Garrett Moss started the company out of his garage. His dad had been in the industry. He's actually 5th generation, but his dad's business had gone out in 2008. And he didn't have any desire to get into this business. And one day he just decided to give it a go. Grew very quickly. The first year they did $20 million in revenue. Very quick. And so, this is 2016, it's 2025. We just did 175 million last year.
Yeah.
We are the third largest wet utility contractor in DFW. We're one of the only people that can get considered for certain projects because of our size and because of our heavy equipment fleet. I wish I could explain how we grew that fast.
That's
I will
insane.
tell you,
I mean,
it
0
really
to
is.
20. I mean, in that first year, was it like subcontract? Like, I don't understand how the labor pool works on 0 to 20 million in a year.
We are really blessed to be in the DFW Metroplex, and we expect, and even in the beginning, we have pipe crews that just come into our business every single day looking for work. So we have about 6 people per pipe crew, about 36 pipe crews now. And they had enough contacts in the industry to attract some labor, and we've just continued to grow that labor. We're lucky to be in this area. Lucky it's a 100% Hispanic workforce, but there's just a ton of work here, and it attracts people to this area.
Are the contracts more on the like municipality side, or are you working for like new home builders doing full subdivisions? Where does that kind of fall?
That's what's really unique about our company is we started out doing, mostly commercial work, and we've been very lucky to diversify. So yes, we will do a subdivision. We will do a public infrastructure project, but we are mostly private development. So we are working in we do data centers, schools, trying to think multifamily. Yeah. We do hospitals, we do multifamily, we do it all. We did not go straight for subdivisions in the beginning because that's what Garrett's dad had done previous. I feel like you guys need to be talking to Garrett, but that's what Garrett's dad had been doing previously. And that took him out in 2008 because it was just a really hard time to be in that market. And so Garrett's idea was always to diversify. And we've been able to do that and find some great partners along the way.
That's fascinating. I'd love to talk more about you. So you get into Moss. How did you enter? How did you enter that?
So it's kind of a long story of how I've gotten here. So it's kind of the typical story. I was a college dropout back in 2012. I'd done a year at TCU and realized that I didn't know what I wanted to do and definitely couldn't afford to pay the tuition there. And so I'm kind of bumming around Fort Worth trying to figure out what I'm going to do. I've been a server at a couple of different restaurants, and I meet someone and they work for an air conditioning company, and it was a woman named Donna Matkin, and she was the call center manager for a little air conditioning company out of Fort Worth. And she hired me. I have no idea why. I don't know what she saw in me at that time. I was a total bum and did not have any professional experience. I remember her sitting down and really teaching me how to talk to customers, how to write an email, how to be professional, how to be polite, how not to cuss. She really built me out of, just like a regular server to a call center employee. And it was kind of right place, right time. But right as I'd been there about 6 months when a bigger company from Dallas came in and purchased Air Right, rolled them up underneath them. And then from there, I just got one great opportunity after the other. We had an EOS implementer come in named Scott Long, who just it was kind of a meeting of the minds, and he just spent the next few years pouring into me. So I went from, kind of being the person calling and scheduling maintenances to running the service department for Crawford Services. And they were, medium-sized company doing about $15 to $20 million of revenue a year.
Yeah.
It was there that I met Garrett. Garrett was, fresh out of UT, also didn't really know what he was going to do with his life. And he was working as a design tech because they had a big new construction department at Crawford.
Yeah.
And, that's how we met. While we were both there, we met our spouses and just kind of continued a friendship. He ended up moving on and eventually starting Moss Utilities. And I was at a point in my career where, I was part of the executive team. I was part of all of the EOS stuff we were doing for Crawford. But I could not convince anyone to pay me more than $55,000 a year, regardless of what I did. And I just, was barely affording daycare. I was like, I can do more than this. And I was like, and I'm going to take a chance on myself. And so Garrett was on LinkedIn. We go back to LinkedIn a lot. I think LinkedIn is a huge resource for people. And I'm following Garrett along on this path of him starting this company and all of a sudden it growing so big. And I'm just blown away that this is the same guy that I used to, go out to Pete's piano bar with and stay out until 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, what? What is going on right now? And so I just kind of out of blind faith go over and I'm like, Garrett, I don't know what I'm going to do here, but let's figure it out. And he was like, okay, let's figure it out. So I sat at the front desk and I was like, what did I do? I left like this mid-level management job to go sit at the front desk and fight with everyone to give me stuff to do because no one trusted me. I was like, give me this, like, let me solve this problem. And I just kept asking. And so eventually one of the things that I got to do from the front desk is we had a CFO at the time who didn't know anything about construction accounting. And he was a great guy, but just didn't come from construction. We had just implemented a new ERP called Spectrum, and he couldn't figure out how to make the WIP work. And so sitting at the front desk, I figured out how to make the WIP work and how to enter projected costs. And after that, Garrett was pretty much like, okay, you can do whatever you want. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, I don't know, So I was in accounting for a year, and then I was like, no, I want to manage projects. I want to look at what we do every day. And so I went out and like bought some Red Wing boots and a construction vest and started managing projects. And I learned how we put pipe in the ground. And it was such a cool experience to get to see what we actually do on that side. So I spent about a year and a half doing that. And then that's when we really got into a lot of financial trouble. And I think that, we just had a kind of a crazy situation where we had a CFO at the time, great guy, still really good friends with this guy, but just got us into kind of a pickle a little bit. One of the hard things about construction is retainage. And we were just having an incredibly difficult time cash flowing the business. And so we did what anybody who's in a cash flow struggle does. We took a merchant cash advance and we got into an asset-based lender. And at some point we're paying like 18% on our, $4.5 million revolver. And basically we're just crushed. We're crushed under the weight of it. And so this is like March of 2020, which, as you guys know, what happens in March of 2020. Yep. And the CFO at the time, it was a tough time. So a CFO comes in and he basically says, hey guys, love y'all, but I'm leaving and I'll give you 1 week. And I highly recommend that you file bankruptcy. And so then it was just me and Garrett kind of looking at each other like, what the hell just happened? Like we knew it was bad. We didn't know it was that bad. And he's pretty much like, tell me who to train on the bank rec as I'm walking, as he walks out the door. And Garrett's like, well, Kelly, I guess just train Kelly on it. And so I learned how to do the bank rec. And then we hired an interim CFO who was a CPA. And he spent the next 2 years coming into the office for 8 hours a day, just pouring into me and teaching me everything I know about being a CFO. It was in 2021, before we ever really had utilities figured out, or we decided to start Moss Heating and Cooling. I have no idea why we did that. It was a terrible idea. We were out over.
I don't know about terrible. I mean, it sounds like it works.
It works, so, but maybe bad timing.
I mean, hearing the story, I'm also like, interesting pivot.
Well, we got really blessed in utilities. As you guys know, it's COVID right at that time. And so, we had just, kind of right place, right time. We had, PPP come in and help us get going. And then we had a bank come in and just be such an amazing partner to us and really see what we were capable of before we were capable of it. And they came in and they structured a deal that helped us get here. And so, by 2021, we are doing a lot better financially. Our projects are starting to make money. We're starting to cash flow. And my husband has been in the heating and cooling business forever. And with him and a partner that we had, we decided that we would start Moss Heating and Cooling. And that company was going to be focused on doing high-end residential new construction for HVAC and high-end residential plumbing. Took us a couple of years to figure out that we are not plumbers. Nor should we ever be plumbers. We lost, it ate our lunch. I remember. We're not plumbers.
I talked to a company. This was like early on in my career, and they were primarily new construction, but they were plumbing, and they did the same thing. They were like, it was awesome because we found out we could lose money in plumbing and HVAC new construction. I was like, that's great.
Yeah, you definitely can. That's available to you. Especially, when we just went after this like really high end custom world, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with high end custom. We do I don't know, couple $1 million of high-end custom work and HVAC now, and there's definitely a place for it. It's not as lucrative as it was about 10 years ago. Because there's a lot of competitors in the market. Like 10 years ago, Crawford could throw a bid out there for just a crazy amount of money, and people would just kind of take it. And now, they shop around a little bit more. So there's just not a ton of profit in it. And it takes about 3 years to build a high-end custom home. So
really? Like how big? Like, is that like 12,000 square foot or like, what are we talking about?
Yeah, we've done all kinds of cool projects. We've done things from, 10,000 plus to 15,000 plus. I mean, some of these houses are so intricate, and it really does. It'll take 3 years to close those projects out. And so if you just kind of think about that, and just think about it from like a profitability fade standpoint, like you start out, you think you're doing pretty good, keep going. And then by that last year, you're just doing warranty because it's such a, such a massive system that you've created. You've basically installed a huge commercial application, because we've done geothermal, VRF, and it's not a lot of money at the end, just to be perfectly honest. I hope that we figure out how to do those more profitably, but we haven't figured that out quite yet. So that's why we really switched to like more of a production type model, which we like a lot more. Yeah.
Do you think, you said 10 years ago, it was like a different environment for custom. Do you think that there was just because there was less people? I mean, fresh out of 2009, like I remember that well, of like what the industry was like. So was there just less people willing to jump on new construction, or like what was different?
A really interesting lens of what that world looked like, because I worked for a company that was kind of willing to and always say yes. If somebody, and this was really before we knew about geothermal and knew about VRF, and it was always kind of oh yeah, we've done that 1,000 times. Let's go try to do it. Let's go do it. And so we had some really just crazy profitable projects. I mean, I've seen contract values in the million plus for a residential construction home just for the HVAC. And so I just don't think that those projects exist quite like they used to. And I think that also people figured out that we're still pretty new on some of that technology. And like, there's a company here in DFW that exclusively does VRF. And if somebody was to call me tomorrow and be like, hey, will you install this really complicated VRF system in my 20,000 square foot home? I might be like, there's a company here that does that, and they're going to do it a lot better than we are.
I mean, it's a great lesson, it sounds like, in do what you're good at and don't spread yourself too thin across all different platforms and areas. Because, I mean, we talk about that a lot on here is newer contractors like to do a little bit of everything. And it sounds like it just bites you in the ass at the end of the day.
It really does. We're still figuring it all out. Like, I think that, we've been really lucky to grow top line like we have, but we are still very much figuring it all out. The type of production work that we do, we kind of stay away from the low end residential application and kind of go for more higher end residential production application. So we're talking, 2-3 systems, maybe sometimes 4 system production homes. I mean, things are just kind of different in Texas. People come here, they build these huge McMansions for this, the same cost of like an apartment in California. So there's just a little opportunity for that type of work here.
Yeah, we had Matt Ballard on maybe 2 months ago, and he has Sunrise. Sorry, Matt. I'm pretty sure it's Sunrise. But he has Sunrise in Vegas, and I think it's probably like similar, like hot, lot of money. Because like I don't think Cleveland has what you're describing. Like that's not a thing. That's not a thing here. Like it would be with I'm trying to imagine what that would look like. There's Ryan Homes. I don't know if that Ryan Homes is in Texas, but it's sort of these like builder grade,
1 unit, 2 unit.
Yeah. Like so that's what we see up here. So I'm trying to envision this, and I'm having a hard time because that's what I'm used to for production, not like $1 million, multi-million-dollar production homes.
Yeah, and that's really kind of our target, is that $1 million plus home, which they just build. They build thousands and thousands of them here. We're trying to do 2,000 homes in new construction this year, and they're all, like if we were to sit down and look at an average system count, I'd put it at probably 2 is what I would say. 2 systems. Now, I'll almost want to say 2.5, but I'm going to say 2.
How many homes did you guys do last year?
We did right around 1,000.
I don't understand this. So like explain it to me like I was going to say 5, but maybe like 8. Like I'll little bit. What is the infrastructure requirement to go from 1,000 to 2,000 homes?
Well, so Texas, we do all of our labor with subs.
Okay.
That's the only way that you can compete in the new construction market here. And it's funny that you said Sunrise. So that was actually the first owned and operated podcast I listened to, because I was talking to somebody and they said, oh, you're in new construction, you have to listen to this podcast episode of this guy who's doing it out in Vegas and kind of how they're making money. And I actually took that episode and went and talked to, I say beat up, I shouldn't say beat up, but I went and talked to all my vendors. I was like,
gently beat up.
I went back to all of them. I was like, I just think that we're leaving money on the table here. And like, sure. Like, I think that that's such an important thing. Like if they just go unchecked, and I'm kind of off topic, but you have to go back and talk to your vendors every single year, or you're leaving money on the table. I think that I was able to kind of negotiate about a 6% decrease in our, largest vendor on material pricing. And, like with this type of new construction, we're looking for about $1,000 a home. That's what we want to make. And so if I can negotiate 6% discount on materials, like
meaningful.
We're getting somewhere. We're doing something.
Yeah.
But that's also kind of why we don't. Go ahead.
Well, just the nature of how fast your business changed. Like, I don't even think once a year is enough. Like hey, you're saying I'm going to double. I'm sure the previous year was 500 or something. Like that's like once a quarter. In my, like, hey, our business is actively growing. Like if you're putting in 4,000 boxes, like you can do a lot of damage. Cause if it's 2 systems per home, like that's crazy. I would be. One
of the cool things is we get this like national account pricing. So when you do this type of work, like Linux has already, created all of these contracts with different home builders. So we're really kind of tied to some of those numbers. So where our opportunity for savings is really the material, duct work, anything that we use on those jobs. And then the ability to figure out how to use less. That is what our focus is this year. How do you use less? So
that's interesting. Have you visited Matt's place?
No, but I would get on a flight tomorrow.
You want like an intro? Yeah. Well, one of my directors is going out there in a week or 2. Like we're not new construction, but I think he does. They're just such a machine. Like the pre-production is incredible. And like, I think that's their magic. I'm not trying, Matt, don't listen to this, but I'm not trying to inflate his ego too much, but it's a machine. But I'll introduce you. You should go. So back to infrastructure required, because I'm still just like 1,000 to 2,000 homes. So we subcontract that makes some sense, but also that's still like a lot. Like that's doubling our labor. What happens with do you need another purchaser or 2? Do you need more PMs? Like, what does this look like? What did you have to change to double?
Well, we're constantly looking for good talent. We are one of those companies who, when we were all at Crawford and we were all at other companies. And I think that the thing that really made us want to start this company is we wanted to pay people what they were worth. That was always something that was very important to us. So it is very easy for us to attract people because we pay people a whole lot more than everyone else does. And so when we say, hey, we need a project manager, there's about 4 people in our building that are going to call previous companies that they worked at and get us fresh labor in the door the very next day. So it looked like project managers was the big thing because that's who really manages the entire project. We allow them to purchase for the project. We allow them to schedule the sub. So it was increasing project managers. The one thing that we're really trying to increase this year, so we have a design team in-house, and we have added some really great talent to that team. We can sometimes be bad about kind of hiring somebody that's somebody's brother because we like them and we're like, hey, we're going to give that person a chance. And so they kind of come in and they like teach themselves how to do, duct design. And so every single year we get a little bit more skilled labor in the door. And so we just hired this woman who I'm just so excited she's here. And she's just got all these ideas already. And so I think that the thing that we always do is we ask people what they think. Like, okay, where are you at? Are you overloaded? Are you not? What would you do to make this better? And we listen. And, so we were kind of at a point with the design team that they were like, okay, we're overloaded and we don't really know how to get to the next stage. So that's when we decided to bring in a new design person.
The PM role, thank you. The PM role is really interesting to me. Like I just want to understand that more. So how many houses can a PM manage a year, and like, how do they win? Like, what does that look like? Cause that's a ton of responsibility. Like you can plan labor. Like I'm just imagining that's a lot. That's like a lot of control. So how do you like set that role up for you and them to win?
That's a great question. When I've completely figured that out, I'll answer it. But what we've done right now is we just try to give them resources, so we have superintendents in the field that oversee the labor that gets done. So we have a really cool workflow called Monday.com, and that's kind of helped us create like our PM task, everything from start to finish of a project. PMs can handle a lot. Well, I mean, I think that we've had weeks where a PM had 50 different roughs going on that week. Wow. And, that kind of ebbs and flows through the summer months. We're kind of trying to figure out what our capacity level is per PM. And we're also looking at, is it time to bring in just a purchasing person where all they do all day long is just purchase? Because to be perfectly honest, like we haven't figured out how to make the profit we want to make yet, and I think one of the things that the biggest issue for us is material. And it's, is it a question of, do we just over order? Is it a question of, should the PM not be the only person responsible for ordering? There's a lot to it. Now, one thing that we do, or at least I think we do it well, is we manage fade on projects well. So because of my background in accounting, one of kind of the very first things I did for this company was get them on an ERP that's construction focused. So every single month they're sitting down, they're looking at their WIP. And I've even added this third-party software called Brick that helps us do all of our WIP reporting. And so every single month they get in and they see a list of all of their projects, and they tell me how much cost they have left on that project to complete it so that we can carry a proper under-over billing on those. And they're just in it. They're looking at their costs all the time. They have a really great platform and a Spectrum, which is our ERP, to be able to get in and look at job costs. They're responsible for approving their invoices too. So as invoices come in, they compare it back to our book price, and they're really responsible for ensuring that job comes in on budget.
Just answer the phone is one of those phrases that's always easier said than done. I know it was hard for me in my business because the phone always rings while you're out in the field trying to get something done, or it's 8 p.m. and you're trying to get your kids to bed. Well, I have the solution for you. I'm extremely excited today to announce Quick Staffers, your go-to solution for building a high-performing, cost-effective customer service team. We are placing CSRs who have been pre-trained on proven home service SOPs and scripts, the same ones that Wilson and I use in our business. For a limited time, we're offering $500 off your initial placement costs for the first 10 signups. See link in the description below, or head over to quickstaffers.com for more information.
Is there like a bonus by job or by month, or like how do you compensate so that they win?
That's great. I came from a world where everyone they're kind of tied to a number and tied to an incentive based on a number. We have not got our project managers on that yet. Okay. Now, I will tell you, they are paid very well from a salary perspective. But we're just not to the volume level where we're starting to think about things like that. And how we get them more involved in saving, instead of ordering the extra bag of flex, not ordering that extra bag of flex because it gives you an extra extra $50 on the job or whatever that number is. So we're trying to figure out how we can reward them where it's a win-win for both us and the company, or for them and the company.
So you guys did 7 million last year. How many project managers did that take?
So 1.2 million the first year. The second year, 7 million. But remember, this is when we have plumbing. So we're doing plumbing service, plumbing new construction, and then HVAC new construction, mostly custom at that point, and then service and change out. We were really lucky to be blessed with a retail partnership in Lowe's. So we do about 65% of our change out through them, which is, there's ups and downs to that. Won't get into that a ton yet, but that was the year we decided that we weren't going to do plumbing anymore, because we just really, we lost a ton of money on plumbing. God bless anybody that knows how to do new construction plumbing. So the next year, we stay stagnant. We do 7 million again because we've lost just a big portion of our business in service and new construction plumbing. And so right about the end of, so I guess that's 2023, we really start developing some great big relationships with production home builders where they are confident in us. They start turning over neighborhoods to us that other contractors have. And it goes kind of like gangbusters a little bit overnight. So at one point we're sitting with a backlog of about 1.2 million. So July of 2023, we have a backlog of 1.2 million. Mm-hmm. By about April of the next year, we have a backlog of 20 million because we have created, we've just created so many partnerships. And people are just really starting to trust us, and they turn over so many different neighborhoods to us. We get into a great relationship with Taylor Morrison doing build-to-rent projects. Mm-hmm. So that's the other market that's just going kind of crazy in DFW right now is build-to-rent projects. And, so those are 300, sometimes 400 unit contracts, so we had a contract of, $2.5 million for Taylor Morrison. And, those just kind of came to us very quickly. And so we spent 2024 going through that backlog. Right now we have a $24 million backlog in new construction. So we're hoping to hit that, 15 million mark just in new construction alone this year.
Yeah. As two guys who are residential service only, can you talk more about, I love B2B. I've always been super interested in it. John has a zero interest. And so we never
I've lost a lot of money in new construction. There's something about losing millions of dollars.
Yeah, you mess up once and you're in some trouble. But can you talk about more of that relationship building and what going into that, right? You're switching how you're looking at who you're going to go after, I guess, who you're going to work with. That's a big shift. Do you guys have sales development managers or who's making those contracts? How does that all work?
So we're really blessed to be part of a much larger organization in Moss Utilities. So you can drive down any highway in DFW. You're going to see this great big Connex with Moss Utilities on the side of it. And so because our name is also Moss, it's been really, I can walk into anywhere with a Moss Heating Cooling name tag and they're like, oh, I know who Moss is. I'm like, you probably actually don't know who Moss Heating Cooling is, but you do know who Moss Utilities is. And so we were really able to leverage some of those pre-existing relationships to get in the door. And once we were in the door, we had the right people to keep the relationship going. We do the same things everybody else does. At the end of the year, we'll get all these really cool gifts and we'll go visit with each one of our home builders and talk about the year but constant communication. But we don't have a business development person. My husband works for the business, and that's really his role is to, really pre-construction. So review all of the bids, make sure that they're going out when they're supposed to go out, go walk the job site with somebody, go talk to this manager. So he kind of handles that portion of the business, but it was really just the name recognition from Moss Utilities that helped, the relationships we already had in the market. And then it's actually really funny, but our largest home builder came to us from one of our competitors called Tempo Mechanical. So Tempo is very much like Sunrise. They do kind of a lower end production model where they're going in and doing one system homes. And they even prefer for those houses to be one story because they just know how to do this so efficiently. Yeah. And we could never really touch what they do in that particular market. And they were dealing with a home builder that just didn't really fit that. And they called us up one day and was like, hey, we would love to introduce you guys to this home builder. And, they introduced us. We probably do $2-3 million with that home builder now every year. So it's just kind of funny how things just right place, right time. So a lot of luck, basically, is what I'm trying to say. We were just really lucky.
Well, me too. The brand recognition thing is cool, though. The fact that you're able to leverage that, and it's already people already know the name, especially in construction. Yeah, it's right up. It sounds like an easier transition than to start up from zero and just start knocking on doors.
Yeah, that's the other thing that was really cool and, sometimes really frustrated me about Garrett is Garrett spent so much money on marketing and logos and branding before we ever had any of that money to spend. And I just remember I would get so mad at him because he would put Moss on absolutely everything. And I will tell you, that was the smartest thing he could have ever done, because the Moss name is so well known in DFW, and Moss Heating and Cooling just really gets to ride their coattails on that. And so, if again, before we had the money to do it, we still don't really have the money to do it, but we've just been really great about branding. Our trucks look great.
That's awesome.
Our uniforms look great. Everybody's got, nice North Face jackets. We try to, if you get into EOS, like one of our uniques is that we care about our image. We care about what people see. And so that's really helped us.
We were once described, and you guys probably do this way better than we do just because of sheer size, but we were once described as omnipresent. And I think that's probably a huge win for you guys. Cause I think like people don't probably really remember. They just remember the Moss, and like, yeah, that's going to do it. That's amazing. All right. So first year, 1.2, second year, 7, third year, 7, fourth year, 15. That's a lot.
A lot.
That sounds like fun. How much, like there's a service component in here too, that we haven't touched on yet. So like, what does that look like? Is it the same crews? Is it captive labor? Is that subcontractors too? Or like, walk us through that part.
So we provide a 1-year warranty to every home that we service. We have 2 warranty guys, and we stole those warranty guys from one of the biggest, best companies. They are paid extremely well because they're extremely knowledgeable. And they run all of our warranty for us. Now, we have a really small service department for a company our size. We actually only have, outside of those 2 warranty guys, we have 3 technicians. And now we've gotten up to 5 or 6, and kind of ebbs and flows with the summer months.
Yeah.
And I won't get into how difficult it is to manage technicians, because I'm sure you guys already know that. But so, right now we have 3 technicians in our service department. And so really our goal, and we haven't quite figured out how to do this, but it's one of our primary goals this year, is to really learn how we convert the new construction client to a lifelong service customer.
Yeah.
And we've played with all kinds of different ideas there. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get the builder to give us the information of who's moving into that house, which is just really silly to us. And so, we've considered the idea of, doing a one-time maintenance for each of those customers to just gain their information, create a relationship. And so that's really how we plan to grow that service side, is just converting new construction clients to our service business. Because, our service and change out business has only grown because we, year 2 developed a relationship with Lowe's, because we had a manager here who had a relationship with Lowe's, and they gave us 27 stores in DFW. And believe me, I know that like one of the no-nos of starting your own business is to develop a retail relationship because they're discounted. Like I know the whole thing why we weren't supposed to do this, but we did. And, so now we do like 65% of our revenue out of Lowe's. And we're really hoping we're on the precipice of getting another retail relationship, one that is very coveted in DFW. And I can't talk much about it yet, but if we get it, we're really hoping that grows our change out business by about $2 to $3 million just change out per year.
One of the people I admire the most in our industry, her name's Ashley, and she runs a massive business in Ohio. It's a 3 location, like very large business. And they got up to 3 locations, and they got up to, they're between 50 and 100, just pure residential swap out. And the first like 20 years, all they did was Lowe's and Home Depot. And like, that was all they did. And that carried them through like 40 million freaking dollars. And then they transitioned away from it and became like a retail, like just a normal, service provider, but they just kept growing. So, I mean, she's amazing and their business is amazing. And I think she's coming on the show in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to like deep dive into it because it is fascinating. Yeah,
I'll listen.
It's really interesting. And like we've tried to make those relationships too, because volume's volume. So yeah, no, I'm all about it. I think that's great. 27 is amazing. That's a ton of stores.
Hey, so that really is what built our change out department pretty much overnight.
Yeah. Have you guys thought about white labeling the Lennox boxes or something like that?
Or at least the thermostats.
We definitely put all of our stickers on there.
Yeah, we bought a couple new construction companies over the years, and like we still get service calls from them. With it did exactly what they wanted it to do. It just did it for the next owner, which was me, and it was great. But I was like stickers on water heaters, and but in HVAC, like I don't know if Lennox does it, but Goodman definitely does, where you can white label it. Or there was a company where near we are, and they covered the whole front of the box. I don't know if you guys are interior or exterior like Phoenix or something, but they covered the whole in front of the box with like a 2-foot tall sticker. Like it was absolutely egregious, but
Really?
nobody could cover it up.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, cause that's the easiest way. Like we still get phone calls from, hey, R&R Plumbing put in this water heater in 2005. And
Really?
I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. Like those stickers, they do it.
The stickers do work. We put the stickers on. We're hoping, I feel like we're still relatively new, so we're kind of waiting for those first service issues to happen where they're calling in on the number.
It's like the Moss truck thing. Like you'll be happy in a decade you did it.
Yes,
yeah,
that's exactly
like, man,
right.
That was the best idea I ever had.
Yeah, it takes a while for those ideas.
But at the time, I didn't have the money. It's going to be the same thing. We're going to talk again in a decade. It's going to be great. You're growing on the back of a new construction, like a high-end new construction, production new construction, and then retail partnerships.
Yep.
And I mean, you've really been able to blow up. Can you give me a sense of how many houses get built in DFW a year? Because I have no concept.
Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you, but I know that we have 3 or 4 relationships with builders that build at least 3,000 to 4,000. So I mean, it's got to be just a ton.
Yeah.
That's a great question. Yeah, that'd be a really interesting way to measure our market like saturation too. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at 2,000 homes a year, and I'm like, is that all the homes? Probably not. I mean, DFW is crazy. Yeah. Or is that like 2% of the homes?
DFW is crazy. I mean, I think that like 95,000 people moved here just last year. And so
you guys definitely,
DFW is crazy.
You guys all need to calm down. I think this is coming from somebody that like lives northern-ish. I think that Sunbelt states are just wild. They're just absolutely wild to me. Like I went to Dallas in August last year, and first off, it was disgusting. It was like 110 degrees or something outrageous. And then like I don't understand how 95 people move to a city that like basically doesn't have water. Like I don't get it. Like where do you guys get the water? Like I visited Phoenix and they're like, yeah, we're growing like crazy. I'm like, you have no water. Like how are you growing?
Yeah, it's funny. I was like invited to something where the governor was speaking, and like the majority of it was about that. It was like totally over my head though, so I don't remember a lot about it. But yeah, it's definitely a problem that somebody's going to have to figure out in the near future.
Someone's going to have to figure it out. Okay, going from 1,000 to 2,000 homes a year, and that's going to take some PMs. Maybe we're thinking about purchasing. What does the other office staff look like? Who's on the team?
So we have 48 employees at Moss Heating and Cooling. And so we have 3 people in the call center, a call center manager, service manager, 3 techs, 3 design techs now, 4 to 5 PMs. And as somebody who handles all of our new construction bidding, just one person does that. And then install manager, sales manager, the install manager is the sales manager, 3, salesmen. So comfort advisors. We don't do a selling tech model. We do a comfort advisor model, and, install coordinator. That's about it.
So what are the comfort advisors doing? Are those mainly for the Home Depot calls, or excuse me, Lowe's calls, or are those going to, the new construction work?
No, they don't have anything to do with new construction. So we were in 3 separate departments. So like if you were to look at our P&L, you'd see 3 separate departments, 3 separate like general ledger codings. And so each department has their own budgets, their own responsibilities for what they want to hit. So change out, we do all the other crap that doesn't work, paper leads, Angie's, all that stuff. I just recently implemented service scalers because John, you said to do that. So I'm doing it. I'll tell you how it works out.
Okay.
So they run those types of leads. They run tech leads.
Mhm.
We try to feed them with we do Modernize. We try to feed them with as many leads as possible. Some of those are really great and some of them are a massive waste of money.
Yeah.
So they are just responsible when somebody calls and wants their heating and air conditioning system replaced. That's who goes and gives them options. We've thought about the selling tech idea. We just haven't gotten there yet. We haven't found the right people, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's such a unique person because I think that in my brain and a lot of people's brains, techs are people who want to fix stuff. They don't want to talk to people. And so trying to find somebody who is both good at fixing stuff and talking to people has proved to be a challenge.
This is just like an aside. Something that's been kind of interesting over the past, and it genuinely sort of breaks my brain. I think it's because we've gotten better at doing things, but maybe not. I have no idea. But like the Angie's Lists of the world, the Modernize, the like lead aggregators, they have been like really winning for us. And maybe we're just doing more HVAC or I don't know. But like I know we did a ton of work on our rehash. I know we did a ton of work on our speed to lead process. But like other people are doing that too. So I'm not sure why it's suddenly working for us. But like it's amazing. Like we're getting a better return on investment from Angie's than LSA right now. No, I mean, I just think lead aggregators have always been like a thing, like a challenging thing. And I mean, you're on one hand, I think like, yes, that makes sense. And on the other, LSA has been a real challenge for the industry for like a year and a half or 2 years now. And I'm like, wouldn't that mean that everybody moved over to lead ags?
Well, everyone moved over to LSA, and that's what made it hard. Is competition got so fierce, and so now you're moving back to Angie's to get away from the fierce competition.
I got to stop talking about it on here.
Kelly, how are you thinking about
Angie's doesn't work?
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Kelly, do not do it.
Kelly, how are you thinking? Do you have any thoughts on like in-person style marketing and lead gen? So, I mean, with the Moss name, it sounds like it would be a great opportunity. You have a ton of quote unquote street cred in DFW. So have you ever considered moving towards a in-person in-person lead gen? John, what do you call it? You have a specific name for it that makes more sense than me trying to explain this.
Yeah, we call it field marketing. But I think in this case, it would be like home shows.
We haven't. I used to do home shows when I was with Crawford, and we haven't done the home shows yet. One thing that we're trying to do is partner with real estate brokers that we know. So this is kind of a new thing for us. So we had a couple of friends that had big brokerages, hundreds of agents in their brokerage. And so we've gone and sponsored things for those guys and got up in front of them and talked. So kind of, just trying to get them familiar with us. So when they do have, because every single one of those realtors knows some guy driving around in a truck, and they've been calling him for 10 years. And so our idea is, hey, when the guy in the truck doesn't answer the phone, just call us. And this kind of opens us up to all of their clients. So that's something that we're trying right now. We just literally, this is a brand new thing. Of all the things that we've done, I will tell you that marketing has been the absolute hardest, worst.
Oh yeah.
Marketing, we can't figure it out, to be perfectly honest. Last year we went big. We did a commercial. We advertised on a local radio station. We didn't get anything out of it. I mean, I can't go back to Service Titan and look at a single person that called in and mentioned that they saw us on a commercial. So anybody thinking about doing a commercial, don't, unless you're just this huge big box company and you can afford it. Just don't do it. It's a trap. But, so we're trying to figure out things like service scalers, because we never did Google ads. We never really, this is really just a kind of a, me and Garrett are really kind of just construction people trying to figure out how to make a heating and air conditioning company run. And, so we're figuring out the marketing thing, but I'll tell you, that's been the hardest thing for us to figure out. I mean, we've done magazines, we've done all kinds of stuff. So
you've got a lot going on. I mean, you've got some real players. You've got Baker and you have Milestone and ABC. Am I remembering that one right?
Number one there, probably.
Yeah. There's just a lot going on. But when I was down there last August, we just visited with some friends. So I visited Jimmy at Baker and I visited Josh with Rescue, and everyone's struggling with leads down there. I mean, it was like a bloodbath is the way they were describing it, like tens of millions of dollars of revenue down because they couldn't get the leads. So I really like being in the market. Yeah. I mean, being in the market that you're in, I'm kind of into what you're doing because they're just not pursuing it. So like they're not going after the 20. I mean, maybe they are, but they're not like chasing down those 27 Lowe's stores. And they're not. I don't know. Whereas like everyone in the world is trying to drive more leads through Google LSA. So I really feel like you've got a unique advantage here.
I hope so. The other thing that we've had to realize though is that we may just not be able to, while we've really grown new construction organically, we don't think that we're going to be able to do that on the service and change outside. And so we are actively considering acquiring other companies. We're looking at a company right now because DFW is a great place to be, but as a heating and air conditioning contractor, it's a very tough place to be because you have the big 3, big 5 air conditioning companies that have so much of the market and can just spend so much money on marketing that you really can't touch them as far as brand recognition goes. Yeah. And then you've got 3,000 other people who are just can, kind of undercut you on price. So it's an extremely competitive market. And so the way that we have kind of gotten to now is we're going to have to find successful service and change out companies and hopefully maybe acquire one a year until we really have the service change out business that we're looking for.
Yeah. And the market is just huge too. So, I mean, there are very few markets in the US that have multiple over $100 million operations and DFW is one of them. Yeah. Like it's just that's crazy. There's like 2 other cities that I can think of that have that.
Yeah, they're massive, like Milestone and Number One Air.
Yeah, they're huge. Massive. And Baker's huge. I thought Baker was like 65, but they're 130. And I'm like, that's crazy.
That is crazy. It's funny. We see that on the new construction side in this market too. I mean, there are multiple residential new construction companies that are over 100 million too. So not just the residential change out service guys, but the new construction guys are really big too.
Well, this was awesome. I think what I want to do is sort of our like closeout question here is somebody else out there is like, man, how do I work my way through and end up being the CEO and CFO of a startup home service company? What advice can you give for folks? You've had an amazing career. Like, how do they get where you're at?
I think a few things. One of the things that I think is when you see a problem, raise your hand and volunteer to solve it. I think that the thing that I really struggle with people is that I have to think through things for them. If you can figure out how to think through problems, people will continually promote you, period. If you can do the heavy thinking for them, you're getting promoted. I always said yes to. If somebody said, hey, can you handle this? Hey, can you take this on? Hey, will you do this? Hey, will you stay here till 8:00 tonight to figure this out? The answer was always yes for me. Yes, I'm willing to do that. And I had a good attitude about it. I also had a lot of motivation around it. Not only did I say yes, but yes, and I wanted to figure it out. And so I think that helped a lot. And just, I think, especially for women, I think, it's one of those things. I think a lot of women get like, just kind of, they're meek and they don't want to raise their hand and they don't want to be the person that's loud at the table or be the one that's direct. And I don't have any issues with being either one of those people. I will be direct. I will tell you what you're doing wrong. And I will say it to you enough times until you hear me and we correct it. I don't know if that's going to work for everybody. I mean, again,
probably will.
One of those things where I just got really lucky. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I think it probably will. I think that's awesome. And you also have your own show where you help talk about being a female leader in the trades. You want to talk about that show a little bit?
Yeah, so we started Pressure Tested last year, and it was really funny because a few guys around the office wanted to start a podcast, and of course, I just raised my hand and I was like, well, you're not going to, invite me to be on your podcast? Like, how dare you? And I was like, okay, forget it. Y'all have your own podcast, but I'm going to take it over once a week and talk to women in construction. And they were like, okay, whatever. And their podcast just never really got off the ground. They couldn't all kind of decide on what they wanted out of it. And in the meantime, I just started recording. And then all of a sudden I had, 9 episodes recorded. And I was like, well, let's release them. Let's see what happens. And we did. And, we have 10 episodes scheduled over the next 3 months. And I've just found the coolest women. Really selfishly, it was about finding women that I wanted in my own network. I wanted to sit with really smart, powerful women, and that's exactly what I've been able to do. And people have, attracted to it, and they really like it. So it's pretty cool.
Well, Kelly, thanks for coming on today. This was awesome. You've just had a heck of a journey, and I appreciate you sharing it with us today.
Thanks for having me on.
If people want to connect with you, to just bug you and ask you questions about how to do this, how do they get a hold of you?
Definitely LinkedIn.
Awesome. We'll provide that link too. Thanks for coming on. If you like what you heard, check out Owned and Operated.